Okay, it's loading.
All right, we will be live soon.
We're almost there.
Maggie would count down.
I'll do a countdown and then we can.
All right, we're live.
Okay, are we live?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Okay, so let's start letting the people in now, Lisa.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Asian Hustle Network. How are you guys doing today?
Hi, Asian Hustle Network.
Hi, everybody. So we can't see people's faces. I'm not gonna be able to see people's faces.
No.
So,
We can't see people's faces, but once Lisa lets everyone in, you can actually see how many people are joining.
You're gonna have to assume everyone's cheering for you.
do I just imagine that there's people listening, or am I gonna be able to see people's like names in text or something?
You will. You'll see their names in their text.
Yeah. You can see like everyone's chat. You can see everyone's Q&A.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So hi, everyone. My name is Maggie. I am the co-founder of Asian Hustle Network. This is Bryan. Bryan, do you want to?
Hey guys, I'm the founder of Asian Hustle Network. You know, we create this community to really uplift all the members, and we want to create a safe place for us to share our stories and learn more about each other's entrepreneurial journeys. Super excited, you know, to have all you guys here today and to have Bart as well. So thank you, Bart, for that.
Yeah, thank you, Bart.
You're welcome.
And then Stern, we have Stern on here as well. Stern is one of our moderators in AHN. Stern, do you want to give a little bit of introduction of yourself?
Yeah, hi guys. I'm a AHN Facebook mod. I'm a good friend of Bryan's, and I'm from Houston, Texas.
Oh, cool.
So we're so excited to have Bart join us for our virtual AMA session today. Bart is the co-founder of JKFilms, co-founder of JKNews, co-founder of Barbell Brigade. He's the husband to Gio, father to Taika, lots and lots of roles. Bart, do you want to introduce yourself to the group?
Yeah, so I thought it was really cool of you guys. So when you guys asked me to have 2 or 3 titles for the theme of this AMA, the one we went with is Fun Your Way to Success, because that is like one of the goals of mine, to have fun while trying to achieve the things you want. But the other ones that I feel like are more representative of me is, I think one was The Dumbest CEO You Ever Met, and the other title was going to be I Don't Know Shit. So I think that's actually like more representative of who I really am, and that's my introduction.
Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, we had a lot of interest for this AMA, and everyone's really excited to hear from you today. So we want to go back to when you first started JKFilms back in 2007, right?
Yeah.
So just bringing it back to the very beginning, when you and Joe first started JKFilms, what was your mindset like at that time? And what was your vision for JKFilms? Would you have ever expected it to turn out so big?
No, so back in 2007, me and Joe were still early 20s. And we were actually at a community college, because both me and Joe, like, we were pretty much fuck ups in high school. So it wasn't like we did the route of like taking your SATs, going into a good school and all that, you know? So for us, community college was like our second chance at life and trying to build a future for ourselves. And me and Joe, we actually met at an MMA gym. And in that gym, it's like a very like testosterone-y like type place. And me and Joe were the only ones that were like fucking around all the time. Like if someone was choking us, we'd be like, oh my God, I'm dying. And so we realized out of like this very alpha type place, me and Joe were the only goofballs. So we actually became friends there.
Right.
And then we found out that we went to the same high school. And then we found out we went to the same college. So we became friends there. And when we first started doing JK, it wasn't like we had some grand plan. It was just the summer between like your second year of community college and right before you're about to transfer to whatever 4-year you're going to go to. You just have that empty summer. And at that time, AIM was big, so you'd always like text chat through AIM. Yeah. And Joe sent me this video he did of himself where it's really shot from like this part down, and he drew eyeballs here, so it's almost like someone's face upside down. And I believe that channel was called Mr. Chin 45.
I remember that.
Yeah, and he talks about how like his dog died or something like that. And he sent it to me, and I thought it was the funniest thing I ever saw. And to kind of like, I guess not prank him back, but to make him laugh, I went to the bathroom and I did the Uncle Sam Gets Jacked. I found like the stupidest hat I could find. I got my contact solution. I poured it in my eyes to make it look like I'm crying. And I recorded that pretty much only for Joe. Because I thought like, we didn't know that YouTube was like the public viewed it. We thought it was kind of like you guys remember like Photo Bucket where you upload a picture and it's like a little server. Yeah. So we thought it was like that where I upload this video and I send it to him. And then people started liking both videos and we're like, hey, we don't have anything to do this summer anyways. Why don't we just team up and start making funny videos? And that was kind of like the birth of JK.
That's amazing. So this all blew up without you even expecting it to get to this level. Like you and Joe had this expectation like it was going to be something pretty small. Like you guys didn't know that it was going to turn out so big. And I think that what makes, Just Kidding Films so special is like you guys were so unique, right? Like in the way that you guys expressed yourself and you guys were just true to who you are. And I think that's why it became so big.
Thank you. Yeah, we had no idea what we were doing. Like we still had the next 2 or 3 years of college to do before we finished. Yeah. So that was still for sure the priority. So all the skits and all the stuff that we made in 2007, 2008, even 2009, school was still the main priority, but it was just so much fun. And we were so passionate about what we're doing that any free time we had, instead of like going clubbing or partying like a lot of people that age would do, we spend most of our time just brainstorming ideas to shoot.
Yeah, that takes a lot of like dedication because at that age, a lot of people just want to go out and party.
I think one thing that helped us out is when me and Joe were like 14 and 15, we already did all the drugs in the world. So I think like by the time we were 21, I think we were a boomer already.
Yeah.
Like most people, I think they get into college, they're like, yes, I'm free from my parents. I'm gonna go crazy. I think for me and Joe, we're like, we've been sluts since we're 14. So we need to fix our lives.
That's amazing. All right, let's go on to the next question. Stern, do you want to ask the next question?
Yeah, I guess being an entrepreneur in early YouTube and fitness and food, now that you've had several successful projects, how would you balance a good business idea versus, having like a shiny object syndrome where it might stretch you too thin? How would you do that? How would you balance this kind of stuff?
Yeah, that's a really good question because I think, when you first start doing things, there's so many shiny objects and you want to do everything. Everything seems fun. And I think like most people that get into business or entrepreneurs, there's actually like a very artistic side to them. And so because it's artistic, people can't wait to express themselves, So like if you love dogs, someone approaches you with a dog business opportunity, like, I can't wait to do that. And then I also like fitness, I can't wait to do that. I also like skydiving, I can't wait to do that. So you want to express every single part of you through all your businesses because they're pretty much like different canvases too. But I think as I got older, and we actually ran into this problem before, but as I got older, I realized every project, whatever you see in front of you, that's literally like the tip of the iceberg. So, you see like that meme that goes around, like they'll be like, this is the tip of the iceberg. And then this is actually like the whole bottom portion. So every endeavor you do, if you scale correctly, it's going to take up a ton of time. And then once you take up that time and you have like efficiency of business, then you're able to kind of go back and not spend so much time. So now before I get into anything, I try to like really see the full scope. And I try to, before I used to think it was the dumbest question in the world, like, where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years? I'm like, motherfucker, I don't know. But now it's important for me to go, okay, 5 years, Taika's about 7. Okay, cool. So I'm probably dropping him off at school. I kind of really envision how it is. And then that way I can see how much free time I actually have. Because I think back in 2016, that's when all of the businesses really like kind of took off. And that's when me and Joe felt like we were stretched to our limits, like a balloon, you know, like we're like working from like 8 a.m. until like 10 p.m. at night. Our personal relationships suffered. I barely saw my mom. Like there's just all these other parts of living life that I kind of just kicked to the side, and they were kind of damaged as a result. So now I really go, okay, this is how I want to live my life. And how does this fit into the structure that I have in my life now?
Yeah, I think that's really important because everyone gets like very excited over, you know, the next big fad, right? And people just want to jump into it right away without looking at the bigger picture, right? Like how much time is it going to take, or like what does this mean for my long-term success, right? Is this really going to be sustainable?
Yeah, and I think it also helps when you have a partner that's
Yeah.
really honest to you. Like my next door neighbor just got into guns, and he was like, Bart, I think I want to open a gun store. And I'm like, oh, can I invest? Me too. And I'm so excited. And I tell Gio, hey, babe, I'm thinking I'm going to open a gun store. And then she's like, bitch, you don't got time for that shit. I'm like, you know what? You're right. So it helps out, you know?
She
It helps.
balances you. She balances you.
Yeah, she's able to see, because, you know, other people can see you better than you see yourself.
Yeah, you need a pair of fresh eyes and you need a third person perspective, or else you get kind of clouded with your judgment, right?
Yeah, because I'm just looking at the positive. I'm like, I'm gonna be an angel investor. I don't got to do anything. I'm just gonna promote it here and there, and then it's gonna be cool. But of course, you know, there's gonna be like meetings that decide, should we do it like this? Should we do it like that? And then it just all these other things that I know will take up time. But when you're looking at the shiny object, you don't think about all those other things.
Yeah, definitely. Bryan, do you want to ask the next question?
Yeah, sure. I asked some questions on Facebook Live. I have a question from Mark. Let me pull it up real quick.
Okay, we have a lot of questions coming in, so
Yeah,
keep them coming.
I see them. They're awesome.
What advice would you give after years of thriving and struggling in all the projects?
What advice would I give in all the years of thriving and struggling through all the projects?
Yep, that's right.
Okay. Yeah, I think finding your purpose and your passion is really important, because if you don't know why and believe in the why of why you're doing things, when things get tough, it's really, really easy to jump ship, you know?
Mhm.
And when you jump ship, you don't complete the project. And a lot of times when you do jump ship, there's this domino effect where you allow yourself to quit. And then so you don't know this, but you slowly are building a quitter rather than slowly building like a achiever.
Right.
So I think it's really important to find a passion and then go based off it. And then also there's a lot of people that are like, oh, I can't really find a passion. It's so hard. And I think that also comes with experimentation too. You know, like sometimes you don't know you're passionate about something until you've tried 10 things or you've tried something for a given period of time. So like, I think it's really important to also not make finding a passion so serious. It should be like a playful endeavor, just kind of like when you find your spouse you're gonna marry. If you treat every date like I'm gonna marry her, you're gonna scare everyone off. You're not gonna have any fun dates. You know, like you guys go to like watch a movie and she's enjoying the movie and you're like, am I gonna marry this one? The energy is so weird. But if it's just playful, it just ends up getting to where you need it to be, and you're like, oh man, I think she's the one. And the same thing with like the passion, like you go, oh man, I think I could see myself doing this. Like I did it when it's tough. I've worked like a 12-hour shift. I still love it. And when I go on vacation, I can't stop thinking about this. Like, I think this is what I want to do.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because I feel like a lot of people, they think that their passion and finding their passion is their destination, right? And they're like, oh, what is my passion? Like I got to find the passion of my life, right? But then obviously passions change every now
all
and
the
then.
time.
Right? Like I know in your recent video, you were talking about how you were into powerlifting, but then you started getting into MMA, and it's like you need a switch and you know, during certain times. And if like one thing doesn't work for you, it doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. Like you can find other things that you're interested in, you know?
Yeah, even like your parents don't love you all the time. They're like, you know, like 2005, I like your brother. And then 2009, I like your sister. And then yesterday I like you, but today I hate you again. You know, it's just like, even they switch off, you know?
So true. That's so true. Okay, let's see. What's the next question? I have a question for you. So, going into your relationship with Gio, how has your relationship with Gio evolved as a romantic partner as well as a business partner? And what would you say are some of the hurdles you experience working with a significant other? And what is like the most important thing in terms of maintaining a strong and healthy relationship?
I think going into a relationship with your significant other, it's the best and worst thing you can ever do. So it's the best because you guys are so fucking tight. Like, you're like, okay, I know she doesn't like to eat this, and I know how she feels about this. I know, like, if she's not in a meeting, I could probably call 9 out of the 10 shots for her because I know who she is and vice versa, right? So that makes getting on the same page like effortless. We're always on the same page.
Right.
But the hard part though is the actual relationship part, where sometimes whatever fight that happens in the relationship or that dynamic, or like, you never listen to me, you take me for granted, like that bleeds over into the workplace,
Right.
you know, and then vice versa, where like it could be where in the relationship she views me as like her man, and she's like, oh, Bart's so manly, but then like she sees me like, I don't know, counting stock, and she's like, man, this motherfucker's clumsy as a motherfucker, he keeps dropping everything. And then now in the relationship, I'm not as manly to her anymore. So I think like being able to have those clear roles, like that's really hard. But I think being aware of it, it makes it a little bit easier. And I think having a hard cutoff, like that's what we did, where, okay, we're only gonna work from this time to this time. After 6 p.m., we don't have any business talk. And if we do wanna talk business, it has to be through the scope of the relationship. So like, for example, if something happened before 6, we're troubleshooting like we're like partners, but afterwards it's more like, oh, how does this affect our family? And it's like a more vulnerable and softer tone,
Right.
rather than a very like, well, why don't you refer back to the minutes? Huh? You know, like you gotta be able to like juggle it. And that's why I think it's the hardest, it's the best, but also the worst thing.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And especially now, like we're in quarantine, it's so hard to differentiate between work time and relationship time or like family time. You know, it's so hard to make that difference.
Yeah.
And you just have to like set guidelines, you know, and be like, this is a time that where we won't have to talk about business and we have to like focus on our relationship.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. It's really hard being self-aware and knowing like what hat you have on at that time.
Yeah,
and then quarantine makes it that much harder because it's like I'm training outside, right? So I'm kind of in athlete mode, and then I'm recording my workout to post, so I'm kind of like in social media mode. And then Taika runs out and says, "Good morning, Dad." I'm like kind of like in dad mode, but then my athlete mode is like, "Tell that fucking kid to get out of here." And it's in like the social media modes. This guy's wasting my time, and you know, so there's like all these like things that are happening. So it's hard, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so we have a lot of questions in the Q&A box. So we just created these opening questions just to get people settled in, but I think we should move on to the questions that are coming in from our audience just to give them a chance to get their question answered. So Stern, do you want to take one of the questions in the Q&A box?
Yeah, I see this question right here. I forgot who sent it in, but there's too many. But so the question addresses, I guess everyone is famous for their successes, but not a lot of people discuss their failures. And the question is, how can you discuss some of your failures and how did you bounce back from these failures?
Man, that's so deep.
We're going deep.
Such a deep question. That's
we want to know your fuck ups, man.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's so true. So I guess I mean I got so many fuck ups, and it kind of reminds me of like that Jordan commercial. I don't know if you guys ever seen it, but he was like saying, I've missed 10,000 shots, I've lost this many games, and this whatever, and then at the end and that's why I am who I am. So, I mean, I got kicked out of a bunch of elementary schools. I got kicked out of 2 high schools. I spent 5 years in high school. So academically, I didn't do very well. I don't think I was dumb because I found schoolwork pretty easy, but I just don't think that environment was right for me. And in my senior year in high school, when I had to find out I had to repeat the 5th year, it was honestly like the most embarrassing thing in the world, because no one goes, like, no one thinks they're gonna spend 5 years in high school. You know, like you think high school's a joke, 4 years I'm out. And not only was I embarrassed for myself, because I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna be one of those stupid super seniors. I know my homies are gonna clown on me for the rest of my life. You just know all those things, you know?
Yeah.
But I think that was also one of the best lessons, because it taught me how important it was to do well like not only academically, but to do well at whatever you're doing in your life right now, because it will propel you. So like, even if you know you have a temporary job at Radio Shack, don't treat it like a temporary job. Treat it as if you're trying to work up the entire corporate ladder, because who knows what lessons you're going to get, and you're only going to get those lessons if you give it your all. So I think because of that, that propelled me into college. And I constantly had this, you dumb 5-year high school motherfucker. I think I had that constantly in the back of my head, that when I studied really hard and I try to undo it. And so I wanted to get into a good school. And I ended up getting into UCLA, which I felt like was pretty good for someone that was really dumb. And I was proud of myself from that, you know? And I think, and then from there, I guess my next big fuck up that I am still kind of paying for, but only personally paying for till this day, is in the military. At that time, I was so focused on becoming a doctor and finishing school that I was actually at a really cool unit that did a bunch of cool stuff. Like you could go to airborne school, jump out of planes and do all this cool stuff. And I kind of just did the minimal effort route and not put myself out there and volunteer for things and get the full experience, because I was so focused on the big picture that I missed out on the small things. And so that's why now I like sign up for I sign up for scuba class, I sign up to go shooting, I do all these other things to kind of maximize my life and kind of undo and redo at the same time the stuff that I missed out on. And so I think that the biggest lesson that I learned there is, whatever you think your big picture is, still try to immerse yourself if you can in the present day activities. And so that's something that I really do now too. So like if I'm spending time with Taika, my phone is usually somewhere across the room, so I can pick up on all the little things. Like I don't want to be like half here, half there. Like if I want to do something, I'm trying to be there 100%.
Yeah, I like that. I like your Radio Shack analogy, because I actually know someone who owns like 5 franchises of Wingstop, right? But he emphasizes that he actually does the dirty work, and it's so important for, you know, like business owners to know how to do the nitty gritty and dirty work, right?
Yeah.
If you're gonna like own a bunch of businesses, you better know how to do like the small stuff, right? That you're asking your employees to do.
Yeah.
And then your second point about like you like learning how to do all these new tasks, you know, that's always important, because we always have to learn how to do things, or else we'll never adapt, we'll never change, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a question from Devon Nguyen. He says, what would you tell your 20-year-old self?
20 years old, so that's like my first or second year in college. I would say don't be a pussy, because I think at that time I was so focused on trying to get into medical school, even though I knew I loved like filmmaking and I knew I loved comedy. I was like, I didn't trust my gut instinct. So I still finished school and still did like the whole like pre-med undergrad stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I would have been on the fast track to whatever like JK success if I would have just like kind of manned up and go, you know what, this is what I like. I'm changing majors. I'm going to go and be a theater major or filmmaking major, or, you know, something like that. And just trusting what my gut is and going with whatever my gut tells me. Yeah.
Bryan, do you want to ask the next question?
Sure. I'll ask a question from Brandon Kwan.
Oh, one last thing, and the other thing, I think one thing that helps you trust your gut that I recently learned actually is people do things the wrong way. You want to love with your heart and then think with your brain to support the love. So always go based off what you love and what your gut feeling tells you, and your brain will naturally strategize how to get there. But a lot of people try to love with their brain and they go, I think I want to be a doctor. I love being a doctor. But your heart is going to want what it wants and it'll keep pulling you away. And since your heart isn't your brain, your heart's not going to strategize for you, you know? So eventually you will end up being where you're supposed to go, and you make that fight so much harder if you're not like leading with your heart.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's a really good point. Yeah, so next question is by Brandon Kwan. How do you overcome analysis paralysis? I struggle with overthinking an idea until I lose confidence in it and end up never doing it.
Oh, so that what I just said applies to that. So lead with your heart. Use your brain to strategize for what your heart wants. And the other one is there's a really famous saying by Confucius, and he said, fuck it. So sometimes you just got to do it, you know? Like sometimes you just got to jump head first.
Hit hard. Yeah.
Fuck it. And you actually learn a lot from either being underprepared or making a ton of mistakes. Like you never been camping, go do it. And then if you get bit by mosquitoes all over the place, you didn't pack enough food, you end up pooping in your car. Like those are all these things like it's almost like the more mistakes you learn, the faster you grow. So if you learn a laundry list of things in one night, you're going to be that much better of a camper the next day.
Yeah. But you have to be willing to make mistakes. Yeah.
So I think to me, it's most of the time, if just jump in and just start doing it, you know, that's the part that's where people, they're scared, but you have to just jump in and do it. Just say, fuck it.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. I think a lot of people get stuck in that analysis phase where, you know, they're scared of what might happen, or like they're scared of failure, or they're scared to lose money.
Yeah.
But, you know, you won't know. There's no reward if there's no risk, right?
Yeah.
Like you won't know what's going to happen if you don't jump into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we have a question from Henry Pham. Hi, Bart. The fitness industry is going through some major challenges. In your opinion, will Barbell Brigade and the fitness industry, or how will Barbell Brigade and the fitness industry look post COVID-19?
So I think what he's referring to, so the fitness industry is huge. And so I guess like the two biggest distinctions is one is online and one is in person. Online, I think fitness industry is doing fine and probably better than a lot of industries, because I think studies show that the supplement and dietary and nutrition industry is one of the few industries that outlast any recession. Because in addition to the toilet paper that's missing from the supermarkets during like the whole COVID craze, if you go in the nutrition section, the vitamin C is obliterated too. You know, so it kind of goes hand in hand. Like when shit hits the fan, people are like, oh, I gotta be healthy. Yeah. So all kind like calcium pills and like everything is like they're hoarding it too. So that part it's not the worry. I think the worry that he's referring to is the gyms and what they're gonna do. And that's also a worry of mine too, because initially we thought it was gonna be closed for 2 weeks. Then it became a month, then it's 2 months, and now I'm finding out it's gonna be 4 months. And and like the only right thing to do is to cancel all the memberships, which is what we did like right off the bat, because if they're not able to use our services, it's not right for us to charge them. So we canceled all services, and the government aid, I think it doesn't help out the small businesses that much. So like just to like, I guess, put into perspective, the cost of operation for our gym monthly could be anywhere from like 20 to 30 grand a month, right? Yeah. And we just got like approved for like this payment protection program thing, and then it was 8 grand. Now I'm like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this? Wipe my ass with this? It literally doesn't even cover like a week.
Right.
So I think that's where we have to start getting creative and figure out what to do. But unfortunately, it's a reality where a lot of gyms might have to close down. We're pretty fortunate where Barbell Brigade is like one big entity where there's apparel, there's supplements, there's training, there's videos, there's whatever. So at any given point, if one of the departments is hurting, the other sides can channel its efforts and kind of help subsidize it.
Right.
It's actually like a pretty big endeavor with like 20 to 30 like total employees. So that's what's makes us lucky. But like some of the other, like a CrossFit gym that's just by themselves, mom and pop, like I feel bad for them, you know. I feel bad for them because the way the legislators are going, like, hey, gyms don't open, it's a densely populated place. They're only looking at like 24-hour LA Fitness. They're not looking at that random yoga studio that might only have 10 people and everyone is 6 feet apart. Right. They're not looking at that. So it is kind of scary. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Thankfully, you have an apparel brand that can supplement and just, hold you up for a little bit.
Yeah. And what's cool is the unemployment is really good. So all of my staff, like, they're getting paid bank right now. And I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Stern, you want to ask the next question from the Q&A box?
Yeah, I'm going to try to combine a few similar questions. So I guess as you were a Marine, Bart, I know, there's certain habits, certain ethics instilled in you that you just, live day to day. I have a few people asking about how do you maintain your focus and how do you maintain your work ethic out when you're out of the Marines, and do you have any life hacks that you'd like to share with everyone?
Life hacks. I don't know if it applies to everyone, but one of the things that helps me out that I've realized is getting a workout in early in the morning. It really helps drive my day. So not only does it like biologically like get all your endorphins and all that stuff going, but I realize like if you wake up in the morning and you tackle some task, and then there's the famous saying of like making your bed or whatever, but like achieving a task, like you just feel so good. And then so when you're on a high, it makes it feel like nothing else is that crazy throughout the day. And then it's almost like you're operating with two brains now. So that's something that for me, it's like really, really important. I guess that's my life hack. It's really, really important to get a workout in the beginning of the day. And then I think in terms of discipline, that comes with experience too. Like it's like when I came out of the Marine Corps, I was probably the most disciplined a week after I graduated boot camp. And I was probably the least disciplined 2 weeks after I graduated boot camp, because then you're like, fuck this. Ain't nobody telling me what to do. I'm going to eat all the Reese's peanut butter cups I could find. And then, it's just, you have like this kind of like how people in their first year in college are like, fuck my parents. I'm going to go do everything. I don't even want to smoke, but I'm going to try cigarettes anyways, just because my mom didn't let me. Like you just go do all this crazy stuff. And I think eventually you kind of slowly realize who you really are. And I think, so I think the discipline aspect is, it's really important to set small goals and then slowly achieve them, and then don't overwhelm yourself with big ass goals. And then discipline's a muscle, so you build small, you achieve them, you build confidence, and then you make the next goal a little bit bigger. And that's how you achieve big goals. Like people, they're like, you know what, I'm going to start waking up early. I'm going to wake up at 3 a.m. You're going to fail. It's just too big of a task for you at that point if you've been waking up at 5 p.m.
Baby.
If you're a gamer and you wake up at 5 p.m. every day, start at waking up at noon or something.
Right.
If you do noon, then you bring it back to 10 a.m., bring it back to 8. Eventually, you'll be like one of those crazy people that wake up at 4 a.m. all the time, like The Rock. Yeah. But you can't go there overnight.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think a lot of people think that having discipline is like a black and white kind of thing. And some people are like, oh, I'm not disciplined. Like I can never do that. Or some people may say like, oh, that person's not disciplined. And you saying like it's a muscle is definitely true. Like you can work yourself up to that point. You can definitely become disciplined if you make habits and if you build habits within your routine, right?
Yeah, I could find anybody and I could find discipline in their lives.
Yeah.
I could find like the laziest person in the world. I'm so fucking lazy. And I'm like, I bet you never missed a single nail appointment.
Oh
You
yeah.
know? That's discipline. What's making you hit the nail appointment every single time? You know? Oh, but that's different. No, it's not. It's exactly the same.
Exactly. That's so true. All right, let's hop into the next question. We have one from Jimmy Doe. When you guys started YouTube/businesses, how long did it take for your parents to be okay with you doing those instead of becoming a doctor?
Oh shit. Maybe like 10 years. I don't know. So it took a long time. So in the beginning, I think me and Joe's first check when we're still in college, we were so happy. We made $1,000 on AdSense. And we're like, I made $1,000. And it was for 6 months worth of work. So you divide that by 6 and it's not much money, you know? Yeah. But I told my dad, I'm like, but can't even believe this. And we're making money doing something fun. Like, isn't that illegal? Because you're thinking the only way to make money is to do like some boring shit, you know? And then we started making a little bit more money. And there's this one point, I think the company was making like $6,000 a month, but it was split amongst 5 people. So, because we just need editors and, you know, people involved. And my dad was like, that's the stupidest thing ever. But I'm like, but we're making $60,000. You don't get it. We made $0. Now we're making $60,000 a month. I mean, a year. And so they, of course, they didn't believe in it. And then when we slowly started making more and we got our first office space, I think when you're able to speak in the language that they understand, then they're like, oh shit. So when they first got our office space, my dad was like, what? That's crazy. Like, you actually have an office. And then even then they think it's unstable or whatever. And then what I realized is through business, regardless of what the actual industry is, you learn business know-how that you can apply to anything else in life, right? That's why you see like, oh, the CEO of HP is now working for the CEO of this washing machine company. And you're like, wait, what? He doesn't know anything about washing machines. He's like, well, he can learn about washing machines in a day, but the business and how to organize that, like CEOs switch all the time. And so that's what I think, because the parents don't know that, they just see the industry. So I think as we show more material things, that's when they slowly started to understand. And even till this day, they don't. But I think my dad finally does now, because he actually looks up his own content that he wants to watch on YouTube. So now he's like, oh, cool. YouTube is this thing where like, it's actually like a legit platform now. Yeah. So it took like 10 years.
Wow. Yeah, that's a long time. Yeah. But especially because like YouTube wasn't big, like they didn't know what YouTube was back then, right? Like it didn't make sense to them, right? To our parents, like how you could possibly make money through videos, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, nowadays it's like you can build a business without even knowing anything about the product that you're selling, right? Like look at Amazon, you know?
Yeah, like the drop shippers.
Yeah, drop shippers.
They just link things together. They know how to market, and
yeah, we're living in a
yeah, it's crazy too, because it's funny because like we spent like 10 years building JK, and then even on like the 9th or 10th, like 8th or 9th year, my dad still like doesn't really believe it's gonna happen. And then the first day that we opened a boba shop, they're like, oh, thank God, finally you have stability. And it's because that's what they understand, you know? And then we're like, don't you know it took JK for us to raise the capital for these boba shops?
Right.
It's the other way around. JK is more stable than this boba shop because this boba shop is on year 1 right now.
Yeah.
But to someone that's like old school, they're just not gonna get it.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. All right. So Bryan, do you want to ask the next question?
Yeah, I'll switch over to Facebook since we have
a lot
of people on Facebook. So obviously there's a lot of younger fans that are huge fan of yours.
Oh, cool.
What's the biggest advice for people in their 20s trying to find their career path?
20s trying to find their career path. I think it's really important to not feel like you're above anything. So there's a lot of people like when we first started with JK, there are people that like came from prestigious film schools. And I think because they came from a certain place, they expected a certain treatment or result. And because of that, their work ethic and the product that they created was lacking. And so we actually avoided people that came from certain schools.
Yeah.
And it was actually people that came from like, I guess just like a regular school that would kill it and they can't wait to learn. And then in 3 years, they surpassed the people that came from a quote unquote prestigious school.
Mhm.
So I think applying that to who you are as a person, like when you're 20, even if you think you're going to be the president of the United States, like it's okay to be a janitor. It's okay to do this and that, because there's lessons everywhere. And the more things you do and the more people you meet, your brain will naturally form like its own synapses to figure out what is going to be the most rewarding career for you in the future. You know, like it naturally just will. But if you don't allow your brain to experience those things, you're constantly going to be sticking to this random ideal thing that you think you are and think what you want. But since it's untested, it's not practical.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a good point. I think like even if you're starting out with a regular job before you do your passion or whatever, let's say the janitor example, like if you are a janitor, you should be giving it your all, you know, because if you don't, what does that mean for your future endeavors, right? If you're not giving at least 50%, or if you're not giving 100%, then what does that mean for your future businesses? And you're ultimately transitioning those type of habits to your future endeavors.
Yeah.
Stern, do you want to ask one of the questions in the Q&A box?
Yeah, I have there's quite a few people asking about how do you manage your time having so many projects, and also how are you maintaining, I guess, your inner team? Like, how are you leading your inner team?
So the projects part, I kind of just took literally what school taught me, because I realized that part of school actually helped me out. So at least in Southern California, the way like high school is, you have like first period, second period, third period, whatever, right? And so you have like 6 periods throughout the day. And then from 8 to, I don't know, like 2 p.m., you pretty much learn all the subjects that you need to do. So I kind of take that approach because that matches my personality, where if it's out of sight, it's out of mind. So for me, I need to do a little bit of every day and it keeps me going. And then at the end of the week, I would have spent 5 or 6 hours on one business, 5 or 6 hours on the other business, 5 or 6 hours on the other business. So every day, that's kind of how I approach it, where like I wake up, I go train. That's that first period. Second period, I go to this first meeting and I do all these things intensely. And when I work on stuff, I try not to get sidetracked where I'm on my phone and then also talking to this and then doing that. Like I'm really intense. I'm like, I'm going to answer 100 emails in 20 minutes. Go. Like I try to be intense and like intense as possible. And I hit each thing. And by the end of the day, that's how I am able to like handle so many projects. Sometimes projects takes more than an hour. Then I'll restructure the day differently. Then I might do like only 3 periods that day, and each period is only 2 to 3 hours, you know? So that's kind of how I do it. And I even treat family time that way, where I know for a fact I'm going to spend at least 2 hours of quality time with my family, my kid, and my wife. And that'll add up throughout the week. Whereas there are people that go home and they say it's family time, but really they play video games or they're reading the newspaper and they're not even really, they have the time, but the quality isn't there. So that's kind of how I manage like my projects. I like to treat it like it's school, and then so each day I'm reminded to do it.
Yeah, that's important. I think a lot of people kind of like mix up their time blocks a lot, and you know, if like they can't finish one certain task, they just like push it over to the next day, and then it just keeps getting pushed over to the next and next day. So it's like really important to time block.
Yeah, and managing like the internal team, like that's something I'm still learning until this day.
Yeah.
Because like coming from like a Asian tiger family and then also joining the military, like I'm very used to a certain type of leadership.
Right.
And that type of leadership doesn't necessarily help everyone thrive.
Yeah.
And so with like business, you meet people from all walks of life.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know the right motivators for people and how to communicate with people the right way, you're not going to get the best performance out of them. And then that's your failure as a leader.
Yeah.
So that's something that I'm still learning, is how to communicate in ways to like get the best out of people.
Yeah, which is a great pivot, a topic, because I wanted to pivot into our next question from Vincent True, who says, how do you adjust your go, go, go mentality so that other people on your team can be at the same speed for your business to run at its peak performance? Because we always hear from, you know, other people in other videos that you have like a certain level of standard, and we can see that from your work with Just Kidding Films, Just Kidding News, and Barbell Brigade. And, you know, there's you work at a level of standard that's like very high, you know, and we can see that from like Gio, and, you know, Gio has always mentioned like you are a go-getter, right? How do you manage that, and how do you, you know, make sure that your team can act at the same speed?
So that's the part, I think that's like the hard truth of being a leader, where it's up to you to surround yourself with like-minded people. Mm-hmm. So I'm actually not very good at firing, because I feel like I want to build a family and I have like a heart and stuff. But the hard truth is, if people aren't moving at your speed, you let them go, because you can't win a championship if not everyone's on the same page. Right. And so for me, the reason why I don't just like, I guess, fire everyone that's not go in any of the stuff that I do, it's because since I know my fault is lack of communication and proper communication, I don't think I've created the right environment for everyone to be able to go just yet. So I think for me, like, it's my 2020 and even 2021 resolution to provide the right environment. Because I've seen everyone put in like people that have stuck in both JK and Barbell, I've seen their loyalty and how die hard they are. So I actually are betting on them. And I'm just trying to make sure that I can create the right environment for people so that they can go. Yeah. But if not, like, let's say I do my job and they're still not go, then the hard truth is people will start getting let go. Because that's, I think, I forgot who told me this, but it's not the people that you hire, it's the people that you fire, you know? If there's one person that's slow, everyone else is going to think it's okay to move that slow. Yeah. And then it brings the whole thing down. But if the person that's moving slow and you're like, that guy's out, everyone's like, oh shit, okay, so I guess it's the speed we're moving at, we better keep going at this speed. Yeah, that's true. And ultimately, if you want your business to grow, you're ultimately going to have to let people go in order to let better people in, you know, and that's the way that you grow your business. Yeah, but I also think it's important to see, as a leader, to see if it's your fault that people aren't going that speed. And so right now I'm focusing on myself. Yeah. Because I've seen how diehard everyone is. So I just want to make sure that I'm doing my part, that everyone can go as fast as they want to. Yeah, which is why it's important for them to be in an environment where they feel like they can grow, right? Where they feel like they have opportunities to grow. Yeah. Bryan, do you want to ask the next question?
Sure. I'll ask a question on Facebook by Nancy Liu. What additional steps did you take that helped your channel grow that are worth recommending to early YouTubers that want to do this full time?
Oh, man. So with YouTube, the tough part of having like the key code, or like what helps it grow, the part that makes it hard is the algorithm is constantly changing. So before it was like collaborations, and then it was like having a hot girl in your thumbnail, and then it goes to like how you tag it, you know, it just constantly changes all the time, to the length of the video. Mm-hmm. You know, sometimes you see like a family channel, and it'll be like, oh, my daughter rides her bike is the title. And then the mom is all pushing her titties together. Oh yeah, the bike. And you're like, wait, what the fuck? What kind of family channel is this? But they're trying to grow, so I get what they're doing.
It works.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to grow the algorithm. So it's hard to give like, this is what you do. But I think the part that doesn't necessarily guarantee the immediate success, but the long-term success, is making content that's truthful to you. Because if people can sense authenticity, and eventually it might take longer, but you will be able to surround yourself with an audience that genuinely likes what you're doing. And there's way more long-term than that, you know? Like, so like the people that love JK, it's so cool because they been loving us since back in the day. And now that we've grown and do like drink shops and gyms, they're the same ones that are supporting. Like they love us because we're genuine.
Yeah.
Versus some people might get like 20 million views a video, but because everything is so gimmicky and novelty based, the minute they fall off, people don't go, oh, I wonder what happened to that guy. They just go, oh, that guy's gone.
It's not sustainable. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really important. Yeah, I think like the thing with Just Kidding Films and even like Barbell Brigade, you guys have a lot of originality, and you don't get to see that a lot.
Well, thank you.
Stern, do you want to ask a question?
This one, this is a decision question. It's coming from Brandon Pond. He wants to know, how do you decide and evaluate it's time to give up on an idea versus when it still has a chance?
That's I think in business, so I'm assuming this guy has the luxury of spending all the time in the world on an idea, but in business, the timeline is really the key on things. So sometimes, in business, because you have to meet a deadline, whether it's like a logistical reason or a trend reason or whatever, like for example, right now, face masks are popping, right?
Yeah.
If you want to make a face mask, you can't spend until 2025 to make the best face mask, because by then you probably aren't going to sell very many of those face masks.
Right.
So I think like for me, it's like I think I'm able to face the harsh truth, which is, okay, what's my absolute deadline? And I'm okay with giving it my best up until that deadline. And sometimes it's not going to be 100%. Sometimes it's 80%. But what's my threshold? If it at least hits 80% of what I want, cool, I'll continue with it. But if it hits 60% of my total idea, I'll can it. I'm like, that's not worth the level of quality I'm trying to bring to the table. And also, I don't think that anything is ever an end all be all. Like, if JK shut down right now, I guarantee you, me and Joe will build an even better production company than over the next 5 years. Same thing with Barbell. We'll have even a better gym, better apparel company, because you just take everything you learn and you just naturally do things better the second time. Mm-hmm. So if I do have an idea that I can, or an idea that I do pass through at like 80 or 85%, on the version 2, it's going to do better. So like, Jordan 5s sell better than probably Jordan 2s. And then, it just keeps growing that way.
Yeah. I think what's really important too is like you and Gio and like Joe, you guys have created a really good personal branding, and people connect with that, and people connect with you and Gio and just like your story and your relationship and like your day to day. And I think that's where, people fall in love with your brands, right? Because they know that you're being genuine. They know that you guys are being original and authentic. And that's why, like, just you and Gio putting your guys' self out there, being authentic to the general audience. That's why people connect with you guys so well.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I have a question from Sang and Michelle. I think this will be the last question since we're running out of time.
Yeah, 5 minutes.
Okay, so dang. All right. Sang and Michelle says, hi Bart, what do you recommend for a couple YouTube channel about lifestyle, vlog, and business?
Lifestyle, vlog, and business. What do I recommend?
For couples.
For couples. Lifestyle.
What's your best tip and advice?
I think it's important to figure out why you want to make the channel in the first place. So a lot of people, when they first think about what they do, I think they're focused on how they do it and they make that the goal. So I could already tell this person was thinking, oh, how? Lifestyle, vlog, or business. But what's the real end game? Like, what are you trying to show about the lifestyle? What are you trying to show about your business? And like, what are you trying to show about your vlogs? Like, what's the true essence of the why? So for me and Gio, our real why is traditional values, that traditional values in an untraditional relationship can work. So for example, we're interracial. She's taller than me. we don't have the same religion, and we also don't live like a typical 9 to 5. But because of that, we're also not crackheads. Like, we don't do crazy shit. We're actually pretty like traditional family values, where like mom does mom type stuff, or dad does dad type stuff, and we have like these type of values that at least we grew up on. You know, like, we don't challenge those values, and so that's what we feel like makes us unique. So that's our why. So if that's our why, then the how part of it, we let that translate through business. We let that come out through our podcasts. We let that come out through our vlogs and anything else that we do. So if we ever write a book, or if you ever create, I don't know, merchandise for the vlog channel, or if we ever do a documentary or a movie, it's still going to be based on that why. So the goal isn't the documentary. The goal is figuring out why you want to do it. And the hows are just the different like megaphones that you put towards the why to get your message out there.
That's good. Good. All right. Do we have another question?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's do one more question.
We'll do one more question.
Facebook question. What kind of research do you do, or what kind of questions do you ask yourself before you invest your time and money into a new business?
It depends on how I'm investing. So, so there's, I think like the business that's mainly broken down, at least the way that I see it, the most simplest way is people, product, and process, right? So for me, I have to invest, and to me, for something to be successful, it's got to be at least 2 out of the 3 things. So if there's a crazy efficient process like Amazon, you order something, a lot of our stuff will get to you the same day. You're like, oh shit, that's revolutionary. Or the people, like, oh man, these are like some of the most high caliber, trustworthy, high character people I've ever met. Or the product, you're like, what the hell? The first electric car? That's insane. So I think, to me, it's first registering if whatever I'm going to do or invest in fits into any of these categories, and then see what the, like, I guess, what's the next competition like, how far other people are along this way. And then also something that's really important is, how passionate am I about this? Because if you're not passionate about it, even if it's the best product, like if someone was like, hey Bart, you want to invest in my solar powered dildo? I'm like, damn, that's pretty fucking cool, you know? But I don't know if I'm passionate about that. And if we're gonna have to go through a bunch of meetings and meet with people, and I have to visit the plastics factory, I don't know if I'm gonna be like passionate about, hey babe, I'm gonna fly to China to check on the dildo factory. Like, you know, so I think it's important to also put like your own, where your values are at, into it too.
Yeah, you have to believe in the future of that product.
Yeah.
Though that does sound revolutionary though.
Solar powered dildos?
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, for people that like, they want to like go green, it's so eco-friendly, you know?
Exactly.
Yep, right.
All right. So it's 12:59. We only have 1 more minute. Thank you, Bart, so much for doing this AMA. It was so insightful. Loved all your answers.
You're welcome. It was super fun.
Yeah, thank you to Bryan and Stern and Lisa for organizing this virtual AMA.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bart.
For the last minute, do you want to share any last thoughts or anything that you'd like to share with the general audience?
Nah.
Oh, okay. That was anticlimactic.
No, I don't know. I don't have any. I need questions.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Bart.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Stern. Thank you, Bryan. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Maggie.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.